I have a question for you. Is there an aspect of your childhood that you have seeked to recreate or make a version that you think both you and your younger self would be content with? Well, I have. I picked up this HP Pavilion 500A60 PC recently off of eBay, a Windows 8.1 PC from the factory, with the intent of maybe making something that I can use for future Windows 8.1 videos, and also I decided that while I was at it, I would make something that would possibly impress my younger self a tad bit. So let's get started. On the front of the computer, we have a disk drive, which is a DVD drive. This is not the original. We'll get into that real briefly, slightly a little bit later. And we have an SD card reader, headphone jack, and microphone jack, and 2 USB ports. On the back of the system, on the other hand, we have 3 audio jacks, Ethernet, USB, DVI, VGA, and a 19-volt DC in port. Getting inside of this system is a bit interesting, as this is not your average system as is shown by the DC port. How you get into this thing is you use one of these screws, and you can generally tell which screw size you need if you have something like what I have here, and you can see what screw size matches. Now that we've got that in there, let me just put on some general personal protective equipment in the form of an anti-static wristband, and let's get going, and the internals. Real briefly, some of the key aspects of this system are its AMD A6 APU, but the APU aside, we do have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I already have a hard drive in here. Also, this thing has Wi-Fi. Well, I guess let's go pop in the Windows 8.1 disk and get going on this. I did not get the DVD into the drive in time for the message to pop up. However, I learned from the Compact Presario video from like a year ago, or close to a year ago, that you could just hit the enter key to get out of this message and retry the boot. I'm going to set the time and currency format to Canada because me, and after reading through the license agreement for a tad bit too long, and then formatting a terabyte of data on a hard drive, it's then time to install Windows on this thing. I'm going to generally skip over this installation because it's not very noteworthy. Well, we're at the out-of-box experience now, so let's check this out. In the out-of-box experience, we can change the system color, give the PC a name, connect to the internet, which I am going to do off camera, set up an account, and then bam, we're done. But there's a few things I want to do first. I first want to update this system, which I can do via legacy update. And then over the next couple days, I ended up installing quite a few programs on here. Not as many as I put in the downloads folder, because I don't want to bloat this thing with old software. But finally, we're with a working desktop, so let's explore. Okay, well, there's one thing that I want to start with, and that is, can this thing run the latest SteelOS build? And now, behold, the most epic fight in history. AMD A6 APU versus SteelOS 3.1 build 3123. As you can see here, this thing did not really like SteelOS 3.1 build 3123. It was lagging all over the place. Well, I think we should just send this out in a bit of honor. Alright, now let's move on. My question is, can this thing browse web? Well, we can get to YouTube. This is much better and much more calm and stuff. How about some YouTubeception?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video.
I gotta make this a chain. A little boring. Is there anything else? I'm not gonna watch anything right now. Reddit works. I also decided to bring up the task manager so that we can get a better idea of what's going on in the background. My own site works. We can somehow play some Scratch projects. And this is what happens when we're downloading something from GitHub. This is from my own GitHub. Well, that's gonna be good enough for web browsing. Well, music plays quite well in iTunes and stuff, and in fact, I've been listening to music on this thing while I've been working on this video. Because Windows 8.1 is just such a nice experience to look back on. It felt like a fun experience on the traditional computing. Unfortunately, everyone hated it because it was tablet-based and everyone used desktop systems back then. Or a lot of people were still using desktops back then. It was a really nice experience on tablets in particular. And to me, personally, I kind of feel like it seems to be like a shame that it never got adopted into like its own thing at the bare minimum. There was a lot of potential here. It just was misunderstood and gone to waste. last but not least, it's time for you to get introduced to this gaming section, because I never played games in my previous Windows 8.1 videos. So I thought that why not we give proper gaming a bit of a shot this time. Instacom runs quite well, although that's probably to be expected because of the fact that this game uses 2D graphics and whatnot. Like, it was made in Visual Basic. So there's that. Next, I want to take a look at Bedtrip Runner. This game may seem a bit odd, but, well, do the figures on placed next to the monitor seem familiar? That's because of the fact that this game is where that character comes from. Bedtrip Runner is a childhood classic of mine. I loved the game back in the day, but I have Bedtrip Runner on Steam, and I think that given that I mentioned that I want to kind of make something that would probably impress my childhood self, then why not I put a game that I adored when I was little on this thing. Since it's available on Steam and I have it, I want to give it a go. It's a tad bit of a difficult game, but I think that playing it with a keyboard makes it a tad bit easier. The next two games I'm going to try are kind of special to me and hold a special place in my heart because of the fact that they were two of the first computer games I ever played that weren't the built-in stock games. The first of these is Peggle, which probably is one of the first enjoyable games I ever played as a child. And on the other hand, there's Bejeweled 2, which I enjoy quite a bit these days, but I was petrified by this game back in the day. Hang on, this is in 480 by... Okay, that aside, let's just enjoy this game for a few seconds now, shall we? I next want to take a look at Progress Bar 95. God damn! Anyway, Progress Bar 95 does work. It is a tad bit tedious to open, as you just saw, but it works. We also have the Toho games, and I'm going to demonstrate briefly the three games I consider the beginner's trilogy, if I say so myself. In our terms, three of the easiest Toho games. Starting with Perfect Cherry Blossom. Then Imperishable Night. And last but not least, Mountain of Faith. Oh, wait. It won't let me do the practice this way? Okay. Anyway, we have Mountain of Faith, and I'm doing a normal run here, or in easy mode, because the fact that, as you just saw, it wouldn't let me go into the practice mode without doing this first. By the way, if you're wondering, I got to stage 3 in that run before I got a game over screen, and due to the time constraints, I did not try to get as far as I thought I could, because the fact that I was recording this piece of footage right before dinner time, and even still, I didn't want the development of this video to go on for too long. Last but not least, we have Portal, because why not try that on here?
Safety is one of many enrichment center goals.
It runs surprisingly well for an APU. I also got kind of carried away and was playing this all the way to the 8th test chamber. But that's gonna wrap it up for games. Overall, quite a neat selection of games actually run on this old thing. It could be worse, it could be better. This is generally not too bad for something that has terrible integrated graphics and a 2 GHz CPU combined with the GPU. And that's generally gonna wrap things up for this video. I want to last bring attention to this updating screen, and fun fact, Windows 8.1's shutdown screen, once it's done in normal circumstances, the screen will quickly fade to black instead of just go straight to black, which kind of is a tad bit of a neat little detail, you know? It's nice. But I don't really have anything more to say, so thanks for watching. I will see you next week. Bye!